Before the success stories, the progress, there was you. You who made a choice to grow, to inspire, to overcome your own challenges. At NASM, we're in service of your limitless potential, because when you keep growing, we all get stronger, and we'll never stop making your journey our mission. Join the fitness leader. Become a fitness leader. Become a certified personal trainer.
You're listening to the NASM-CPT Podcast with Richey, winner of the Share Care Emmy Award for Social Storytelling and the official podcast of the National Academy of Sports Medicine.
Hello and welcome to the NASM-CPT Podcast. My name is Richey, and today we're going to be talking about personal training best practices. There are great personal trainers out there, but some of these great people at training don't actually follow some of the best practices. So they're really good trainers, but they may not have the best business. And there's some people that are just fine trainers that are killing it when it comes to their business because they are considering best practices. So maybe not the best programming, but the best practices. So let's talk about some of the best practices. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you are a personal trainer, I'm going to go with this one: safety first. That means safe area, safe weight selection, being able to ask your clients about injuries, how they're feeling, how they're functioning, how they're moving, how did they sleep, food, etc., etc. Are you all right? Let me see you and give me feedback. I want to know how you feel today. So as we load up some weights, let me know how it feels while you're doing it. And so I might cue somebody, make sure that when you go down to a squat, you squat parallel. But I know for a fact for myself that when I start squatting, it's going to take me a couple sets before my knees go, all right, parallel, I see you. It's going to take a little bit. So be sure that you're considering that when it comes to your clients, that you're not just going, all right, make sure that you squat parallel even in the warm-up, because sometimes people like me, our knees need some time to warm up a little bit more. So limiting range of motion and things like that, because you're focusing on safety first. And then also let's go under the safety first umbrella, spot your clients and spot them appropriately. Spot your clients. I love making sure that people are safe, but I'm going to spot clients. So there are times that you can spot them, and there are times that you need to teach them and tell them there isn't a spot for this. So you might need safety bars, or there isn't a spot for doing a clean. So you need to know how to get out of the way and drop the weights. You might be doing a dumbbell chest press. I think that there is a means at which, yes, you need to be able to spot them, but also you need to be able to train them and coach them and cue them as their personal trainer. If you feel like you're not getting it and I'm not spotting you right, or I'm not there, whatever it is, those dumbbells can go to the side. They need to fall away from you. So you are also being aware of your area and keeping your area safe. So your area needs to be safe, not just that nobody is in the way of the exercise you're doing, but nobody is in the way of the failure of that exercise. So be aware of that. Now, let's move on from safety. I think we're all on board with that, but let's also be on board with something else. Be professional. You got to be professional. I'm going to say this because there are a lot of people, especially when I started training, that I was very attentive when I was working the floor. So working as a new trainer, having floor hours, I was watching, I was talking to people, I was cleaning up, taking care of my area, while so many people were just hanging out on their phone, reading the newspaper, leaning against the wall, not being very active in the process of being an employee. And that was the difference between where I ended up going in my training career and where they ended up going, which for most of them was not training. And that's okay. But if you want to be a trainer, then work on the successful part of being a trainer. Some people don't want to be a trainer. They just want to have a job that allows them to be lazy. Like if you're allowed to just lounge around and read the paper and lean against the wall, then and you get away with it, then brilliant, great job for you. But if you want to be successful at training and make money from training, then you have to be more attentive while working the floor, engaging with people, talking to people, offering towels, asking if they could use a spot, those kind of things. All right, another one. Don't eat in the bathroom. No, I mean, that's not a literal statement. Don't go to the bathroom in the kitchen. And I'm trying to be G-rated here, but don't potty where you eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, All right, so here's an example. I met my wife at the gym, but I did not want to be one of those personal trainers that was always hitting on somebody at the gym, always talking, always flirting, always trying to see who else is there that they can, basically the in-person version of sliding into your DMs. I didn't want to be that guy. And I didn't want to be that guy a lot because I just thought personal training got such a bad rap, especially when I started training in the early aughts. Like that was so much of what people thought personal trainers were. And there were a lot of people that created that stereotype, and that became a stereotype for a reason. So when I met my wife, I was like, listen, girl is hot. I'm totally interested in her, but I didn't ask her out at the gym. I talked to her occasionally. I remember the first time I ever spoke to her, she always took spin classes, and she'd work out before the spin classes or cycling classes. And one day she was working out, she didn't hit the spin class up, and it was starting. And I walked over to her and I was like, hey, I noticed that just want to let you know your cycling class started. And she was like, oh, I'm not doing it today. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Have a good workout. And I left. And I gotta be honest, like she was hot. So when I didn't talk to her any more than that, she was like, what's up with that guy? And so I finally, one day I was going to the gym. I was talking to my younger brother on the phone, and his fiance had just dumped him. And I'm on the phone, he's crying. We've been talking for about 10 minutes. And as I'm walking to the gym, I see Jennifer come out of the gym. And I was like, this is my opportunity. This is my moment. And so I'm on the phone with my brother. He's crying. His fiance just dumped him. I said, Mark, I got to let you go. And he said, why? And I said, hot chick. And he goes, oh, call me back. So I hung up with Mark, went over, talked to Jennifer, asked her out. Not immediately, just chatting for a while. And then, so you want to go get some food, dinner, something. Sometimes she was like, oh, sure. And then she told all of her friends that she was going out with her new gay friend. That is a true story. She thought I was gay. But now proving to her differently that we ended up getting married and 3 kids later. And the point of the story is not to just share my story, but waiting. Like I didn't ask her out. It wasn't that person. Don't be that person in the gym that's asking people out, hitting on people, all of that stuff. All right. Keep it clean at the gym. And I'm not just talking about the gym. I'm not just talking about the putting weights away or being tidy, but I'm also talking about your language and your behavior. And I know that there are different gyms, and some gyms just vibe that way, where it's very bro and it's very different, where, language and the teasing and the joking and the things like that. And that's totally acceptable in those places. But most people are not employed in those places, and you have to be very aware of it, because you will turn a lot of people off. You will turn more people off with the language that you use if you're not aware of it than you will be like, oh, I want to go with that person because that person's like the bro I want to work out with because of their language. That's not how it's usually going to go. So keep it clean, talking about the gym, talking about yourself physically, but also your language. All right. Here's something important I think you should do is communicate your goals for your clients as well as reinforcing the goals that they request of you. So we have goals for our clients, and sometimes those are in addition to our clients' goals. Like, so my clients, they may not have the ability to balance well, or flexibility may not be on their list of goals, but it may still be something I provide. In fact, I'll tell you something else. Most people don't come to me because they want to be more cardiorespiratorily fit. Most people don't, but I want that from them. No, they may want it, but they certainly don't want to say it. And then, when I was early in the days, they'd be like, I didn't come to you to do cardio. And I was like, well, when you do cardio that's not long, slow duration cardio, it's still cardio. It's a different type of cardio. But we're getting the heart rate up and we're working. And that's the goal, is I want to be able to reinforce goals that I have for you in addition to providing and working towards the goal that you have for yourself. Next thing on the list is ask for feedback. All right. Feedback could be like, is this the type of workout that you feel comfortable with? Because even though the idea of overload is that we're overloading you and your body's not necessarily comfortable, but you're comfortable with that type of discomfort. But I remember, and I've mentioned this on the show before, where I had a business partner that would do the Harvard step test with people. And it just became a weekly thing that he would, instead of just doing it as a baseline assessment, he would have somebody, his clients, do a Harvard step test once a week, especially as multiple a week clients. So that means that every week when they came in, they were doing 5-minute step test on a 20-inch step. And one of his clients literally broke down in tears after about a month and was like, I hate this. I hate this so much. I hate it so much. And he was like, we will never do this again. It's okay, but don't let it get to that point. So you can do that by saying, we're going to do this test. This is something that I'm into, and I know you don't like it, but how much do you not like it? If they're like, I want to cry every time I come in here, then we cut that off before it happens and say, let's just remove that. We'll do another workout, another assessment, whatever it is, and trying to stop that before they actually do cry during the session. I think also here we're going to ask for feedback is a couple things. One, is it okay if we can push a little bit harder? Or do you think that we should bring this down a notch? Asking for more, can we add more weight? How do you feel on this exercise? Sometimes it's absolutely not. Sometimes we will do some coaxing and we'll say, listen, I don't care if you get 10 repetitions. Let's add a little weight. And if you get 8, you get 8. If you get 3, you get 3. If you lift it and it doesn't work, then we just go back down to the other one. So I may want to push you to add weight, but there's some give and take with that too. So sometimes people are concerned that they're going to have to lift heavier weights and still provide the repetitions. So be clear with them that that's not always the expectation. Sometimes it is, but it's not always. So can we push harder or can we bring it down a notch? Also, is there anything that I have you do that you absolutely hate? I think those are important questions to ask. And then finally, are there exercises or things that you want to work on that I may not be focusing on? Because let's say, use this for an example. For me, like I'll do core stabilization exercises for a lot of people, and sometimes core stabilization even outside of the stabilization phase. And then a lot of times I don't think about working core specifically because it's involved in so many of the things that we do. And I have a couple of people that are like, I really want to focus on abs. All right, cool. I'm glad you actually said that, because that's not something that I just focus on, at least, and not for everybody, certainly. So when you bring it up, then I can implement that or implement it more. But that only comes up generally if we lead them, if we ask them the questions. Is there something you want to focus on that I'm not delivering for you, and get that feedback from them? All right, cool. So the next, Get good, be good, stay good at cueing exercises, but also the follow-up here. You need to know, be good at knowing when to let someone work it out on their own. You gotta let somebody know when to work it out on their own. Because here's the thing. If you're teaching somebody how to ride a bike, there's only so much you can do when it's like, don't fall to the left or the right. You should be fine as long as you don't fall to the left or the right. And when they fall to the right, you go, oh, lean left. And you fall to the left, oh, lean right. I'm like, stop talking. Work it out. Work it out. Let them work it out. Support them in the process. But this constant do this, not that, do this, not that, when they are just getting to the point where they are trying to coordinate how it's done, that isn't helpful. And in fact, it is frustrating. So don't be that. Don't be that. Be good at cueing, but also be good at knowing when it's time to let them work it out on their own. And a lot of times I'll give cues beforehand. If there is something dangerous, I'll cue it in the moment. But sometimes I just let people work it out. And, especially a new exercise where we're doing body weight or we're doing something light before we start adding heavier weight to it. And maybe they're doing RDLs and there's a little rounding in the spine, and I'll cue it. I'll cue it a couple times. Sometimes I'll stop it and let them go. And sometimes I'll let them finish the set and then I'll cue it all over again. Now, I know some people who are like, never, never, never. I will never let them bend forward and round their spine in an RDL. Cool. Then don't do that. But I mean, that's like, if we're doing body weight and I'm cueing it and then we add a little bit of weight, the chances are they're starting to figure things out. And then we add in, but we're not just going to throw heavy weight on them. They're doing heavy weights and they're like, check out this new exercise. I want to see if I can do it. Just watch me. And then they throw weight on a barbell and try to do an RDL with a rounded spine. I would be like, hey, we're going to have to stop this. Let's lighten the weight. Let's go through the cues. Bench press. Think about bench press. When people first do bench press, the first time you ever do it, doesn't matter how strong you are. You look like you are driving on an icy road. There is all sorts of winding and twisting and trying to get the bar up. It's not heavy. It's just not coordinated. And you can't cue coordination. You got to practice coordination. So sometimes cue, sometimes don't. All right. Next one, make sure your clients know that you love and that you appreciate them, even if you're hard on them during the workout. So compliment them readily, compliment them as needed, compliment them when they do something well, compliment the effort when it maybe isn't that good. And if they're having a hard time, you got to be empathetic and share stories from your own struggles and share something that's going to help support the client in that moment. And a lot of times trainers don't want to share their struggle story. They want to share it because they like to present as, I don't struggle, and that's why you come to me. And that's not nearly as powerful as I struggle or I struggled and this is where I am now. And then they see your success story out of adversity, and that can have a lot more power. All right, next, invest in your continuing education. And I think this is really important. In fact, you need to have continuing education just to maintain your certification. And literally this week, somebody reached out to me and said, hey, I want to start training at your gyms. And we got their information, your insurance, we got the certification, we got their certificate of insurance and their CPR AED. And then we're like, great. And then we went, whoa, hold on. I just noticed that your certification is expired. Can you send me an updated one? And they said, I don't have an updated one. Can I train here anyway? And we're like, hey, you show me that you spent the money. And this was our solve for it. Spend the money on the renewal of your certification. That'll give you like several months before. And we said, you can go ahead and start training here. And he said to me, this is what he said. He said, I'll just find somewhere else to train. And I said, bye, Felicia. It's so ridiculous. Go somewhere else and train then. I don't need you to train here, especially don't need you to train when you're not a trainer. You are not a certified personal trainer. You fancy yourself one. You fancy yourself a trainer. You're not certified. You don't got the certificate. And you ain't one. Bye. And you're welcome to go somewhere else and train. And if they bring you on and they allow you to train clients there, good. Good for them. Good for them. But that's their risk and that's their negligence if something else goes wrong. So it's on them. It's not going to be on me. So keep investing in your continuing education. Get better. Get smarter. Instead of going broad, go narrow and find a niche so that you can get really good at your marketing. All right. Lead by example. Lead by example and share your struggle story like we mentioned before, and be there for your clients when they need it, because they're not going to be on every day and they're going to come to you and they're going to say, the only reason I showed up today is because you're going to charge me anyway, but I don't want to work out. All right. We'll match our workout to your present state. We're going to get some stuff done, but I'm not going to make you mad at me. I'm not going to make you mad at yourself. I'm not going to hurt you. I don't want you to be miserable because you're here. I want you to be happy when you're here. I want you to be proud of what you do when you're here. So that's going to change a little bit. We'll support clients in the best way we can. Also encourage health and fitness beyond the session. There are 168 hours in a week. And if you see that person 1 to 2 times a week, then 166, 167 hours that they have on their own, that's a lot of room to mess up. And an hour or two is not a lot of exercise when it comes to the grand scheme of things. So if they are, not you want them, you of course want them to be, but they want to be fitter and they want to be healthier, and maybe they want to cut a few lbs, and maybe they want to get their cholesterol under control, and maybe there's a lot of things that just support outside of that training session can be helpful. So support them and encourage them to be healthy and to be more fit outside of that session. And the last one is, and there are 10 of these, but then I kind of jabber on about each one of them, but be yourself and be authentic, and realize sometimes that being yourself and being authentic also means still be yourself, but adjust your presentation to your audience. Because I'm going to treat, when I work with my 92-year-old client, the conversations we have and how I engage with him is a lot different than anyone else, because that guy is foul and filthy and I give it right back. He is hilarious, but I don't talk to other people that way. I let this old dude, he can say whatever he wants to me. But when I go, and I might give some of it back, but when I go and I work with most other people, I am not that vulgar, and I will not put up with it. You're 92 years old. You got it, man. You got it. We're all set. All right. So let me just run through these real quick, just as an overview. What are some of the training best practices? Number 1, safety first. Number 2, be professional. Number 3, communicate your goals to them, not just their goals to you. Ask for feedback. Number 4. Number 5, get good at cueing and when to be quiet and let them work it out. Number 6, make sure your client knows that you love and appreciate them. Number 7, invest in continuing ed. Number 8, lead by example. Number 9, encourage health and fitness beyond the personal training session. And then finally, be yourself, be authentic. You be you, but you be the right version of you to the right client. All right, cool. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you found it helpful, and leave some feedback to us. I'm going to actually leave 2 feedback examples of feedback that have been done on the Apple Podcast. So we're doing great. We got a 4.7 out of 5. So thank you for those who have given scores. But I'm going to give here's a good feedback, and then I'm going to give somebody that was not very impressed with me. So here is Janie, and titled, helped me pass NASM-CPT exam. All right, cool. And that's great, because I don't necessarily just focus on the CPT exam. but I do have episodes that do. So here it is. I absolutely love this podcast. He explains things in such a way where it's not just pure science going in one ear and out the other. He really makes it make sense. He's so personable and relatable. I have ADHD, so studying straight out of the book with no explanation is hard for me. His auditory explanations and visuals he gives when explaining a concept have helped me tremendously if you're studying for the exam, or even if you're not, you just want to know more about these topics and really actually understand what's going on. You need to listen to this podcast. Janie, holla at ya, boy. Thank you so much. But I will say, Darling Driscoll did not find my personality to her liking, or his, I don't know, Darling Driscoll, but says, "Where's the personality?" is the title of the feedback. It says, "Listening to this is like I'm literally listening to a textbook. So monotone. Zero," all caps, by the way, "zero personality. Great information. Terrible," I said it loud because it's all caps, "terrible presentation." Yeah, you know what? I'll work on it. I'm sorry. And I read it and I thought, well, maybe this person has never listened to the podcast because my opinion of me and my perception of me is way different than this. But you know what? I'll listen to my episodes, go back, and I'll address as needed. Like, subscribe, share with your fitness friends and family, and leave feedback, even if it's feedback, like Mr. or Ms. Driscoll. I appreciate y'all being here. If you want to reach out to me, hit me up. DM me on Instagram at dr.rickrichey or email me rick.richey@nasm.org. Y'all keep inspiring people to fitness. Thanks for listening. This has been the NASM CPT Podcast.